This is Nia Perry, founder and CEO of Gradient Global Collective, and you're listening to the Gradient Global Collective podcast. Well, thanks so much for joining me again, listeners. Let me tell you what I have on my heart at this moment. Be your own motivation. When the going gets tough, and it will get tough as an entrepreneur, give yourself a pep talk like no other. Talk to yourself as if you were your own, let's say, Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey. Okay, you can make it. And if self-motivation proves to be too challenging, listen to how others have overcome their difficulties on platforms like this. There is always something to gain and learn from the plight of others. Well, now that that's out the way, I am thrilled to speak with our next guest. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, resourcefulness is my strongest attribute, and this entrepreneur certainly flexed my muscle in this area. Ify Ojo is owner and principal designer of Vancouver, Canada-based Stela Textile Design Studio. Ify's passion for storytelling has led her to textile design after over 14 years in the web and graphic design industry. Born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria, her passion is to bring a fresh and modern perspective to the African tradition of storytelling with fabrics. Her designs also challenge you to look at the old with new eyes, juxtaposing ancient symbols with modern day objects. Drawing influences from the shared experiences of women, the characters on each fabric design is brought to life with a socially conscious message in form of commentary, advice, or just life observations written on the selvage of each fabric. How cool is that? Her design studio is a full service studio that specializes in fashion print for women's apparel. Ify currently resides in Maple Ridge, British Columbia. She's married with 2 kids and a crazy Chihuahua Yorkie mix called Ollie. And I am so happy to speak with her today after doing much research on her amazing background and experience. Welcome to the Gradient Global Collective podcast, Ify.
Thank you, Mia. I'm very happy to be here today.
I'm very happy to have you. I did a lot of looking into your life, and I'm so glad we were able to connect today. You've had
Great.
sort of a diverse creative career in the arts, right? But you attended college for agricultural economics, of all things. So, what were your career aspirations as a young person that led you to study and acquire a degree in this area?
Um, First off, I've always been an artist,
Hmm.
and my parents always encouraged me towards that. But I think midway, by the time I was a teenager, I may have given in a little bit to peer pressure because a lot of my friends at that time were also going off to college, and honestly, no one was starting to be an artist or designer, and there weren't very that many options for digital arts back then.
Okay.
And and ag economics was an option that I considered, and yeah, and it's something I went for. And by the time I got to my second or third year, I definitely knew for sure it wasn't what I wanted to do
Yeah.
with my life.
Right.
But I needed a degree, and I finished off, and I don't even think I didn't. I after my youth service in Nigeria, there's something called youth service. It's a one year mandatory service to the country.
Okay.
I came back home and started pursuing arts. My life as started career as an artist fully,
Okay.
and since then I've never looked back.
Wow. Awesome. Okay. Well, I discovered some of your amazing fine artistry online for which you use paints in gouache, which I've never heard of, but really beautiful, and Nigerian fabric cutouts. At one point, at one point, your work was displayed in art galleries in Cleveland and in Chicago. So what's interesting about that is that I understand you have no formal art training, and everyone, the work is really gorgeous. Like I want a piece. I don't know if you still create that art, but I want something from you. What led you to begin, and when did you realize that you had a talent for fine artistry?
I don't know. It's just something like most talents. It's just something you have without
Hmm.
even questioning it.
Okay.
So I've always grown up making doodles and drawing on any surface I could find.
Yeah.
And I very quickly realized being a scrawny little middle child that was often up to her own devices,
Mm-hmm.
I quickly realized it was an attention grabber. So
Oh.
I would draw adults back then without them observing me and just present it to them. And the look on their face was always magic.
Mm.
That was something I got very quickly addicted to. So I was drawing people. And that really fueled my talent. I was drawing people, making portraits of people and giving it to them. And yeah, and they would be simply surprised, overjoyed, or any whatever emotion that evoked. I remember as well, kids would just say things as it is, right?
Yeah.
So my grandma came and said, "Oh, Ify, why didn't you ever draw me?" I looked at her and said, "Oh, grandma, you have a lot of wrinkles. It's a long time to draw those wrinkles
Oh,
out."
that's great. I love it. I
Yeah,
love
I
it.
know. Yeah, I was, that was pretty bad. Yes, but I really had acquired no formal training in arts. It's just
Mm.
something I went with and developed along the way. And
Sure.
not having any formal training, I nothing wrong with having formal training in anything, but I had no barriers. I just
Mm.
drew as I felt it. So there was no restrictions, and I just went with the urge to draw and just yeah, I went ahead with it.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to have exhibited not only in Nigeria, but also in the US as well, and in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where I had moved from currently residing in BC.
Okay, sure. So in 2012, you and a friend launched BB Invitations as a hub for modern, traditional, and ethnic African themed wedding invitations and stationery. Again, lovely work. What were some of your early challenges that you experienced when working with a friend turned business partner? And what is some advice that you could maybe lend or offer our listeners that may be considering such a similar partnership?
I guess one of early challenges I experienced working with a friend turned business partner is one of the things I would advise is when you're looking for a business partner, you would choose someone you have the same vision with.
Okay.
When there's a conflict of um, the vision regarding where your business would like to go to, then it is a problem.
Mm.
And those were one of the things we grappled with,
Yeah.
and also personality clashes as well. So I tend to be passionate about things, and which is actually a good thing because I tend to be the one who gets really passionate about something.
Mm-hmm.
My other partner she's more cerebral. She'll rather just sit down and think things through. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a great compliment.
Okay.
That was how we complemented each other. And working with that, we also walked around we realized each person's weaknesses and strengths and worked with that. I'm more of a creative person. Marketing and talking to people is not my strong point.
Okay.
And my partner has that as a strong point. So that was a great balance.
Okay.
So the thing is, find your strengths, and once each partner finds out what their strengths are, you cannot push your strengths and or hope that somebody else's has your strength.
Mm.
You just have to balance each other out, find each other's strengths, and work around each other's weaknesses. But you cannot make somebody else become you. It's not possible. You
Yeah.
just finding that person that complements you. It's always makes a partnership is much more easier.
Okay. It's great advice. Thank you. So let's talk about failure. Okay. Um, some people they call it the other F bomb. Okay, failure. with with your, or maybe it's just me because I'm a dork. Um, with your diverse business and career experience, what are some hard lessons that you've learned along the way? And maybe how are some ways that you've overcome some of these challenges or failures?
Hard lessons I learned along the way is that of I think one first thing I learned when I started off BB Invitation was I had a lot of presumptions about opening the business.
Okay.
First week I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna have 100 orders a day. I got all my boxes ready, everything lined up for my packaging and stuff. And business lines, crickets, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to work at it. No matter how great your product is, you really, 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 no one build it and they'll come. I don't know if they were exactly referring to an online business or an entrepreneurship, but you really have to build it and go out in the streets and yell at people to come.
Yeah.
Or maybe not yell, but just make it, there has to be a hook.
Yeah.
So that was one big shock. So marketing, and we didn't set aside a huge marketing budget.
Okay.
We first thought, oh yeah, we spent most of our budget on purchasing samples because we just figured, oh well, yeah, the wedding invitations, people would want to feel and touch them before they purchase, but it wasn't the case.
Mm.
So we had a lot of presumptions about this business and spent a lot of money on things that were totally unnecessary. So my advice is start small. No matter what you have, don't go out and purchase a bunch of things or have those presumptions about your business. Very often, the market will teach you, and it will give you a direction, the next direction to your business. Because once you start, people might start inquiring about things you never even thought about. When we started, we just started we're doing physical cards. Then my partner said, "Oh, most of my friends are getting married. Most of my friends' kids are getting married now, and they don't. Most of them send their invitations digitally, and that was how." And there was that demand for digital invitations. We would mail invitations to brides, and they'll come back and say, "Can we have a digital version? I just want to send this at WhatsApp to my friends." And that was how the market just gradually led us to that, to digital invites. And it's since been our strongest selling product. Most of our downloadables and digital invitations.
Okay.
So you honestly sometimes just remove those presumptions and let the market lead you. So I've started off this new venture, and that's the direction I'm taking. I have my own ideas on how to grow the business, but I'm still leaving that aspect of the market showing you where to go open.
Sure. So tell us more about that. I know, Ify, that you've now sort of ventured into your new brand, Stela Textile Design. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. Is actually how I found you on Instagram, by just viewing your work, and I had to know more about you. So that's what led me to you. So, what inspired you to launch this brand that really represents Black women so beautifully, and just women in general, but lovely. Like it's fresh. You have a really great eye. And I happen to love color and texture, and I think you capture it so beautifully with your textile. So, what led you to develop this brand?
Um, this is one business venture I'm super, super excited about.
Okay.
I am my a lot of things led me to this direction. I've always had a love for textiles. My mom was an international businesswoman. She
Okay.
spent most of the time sourcing textiles from all over the world. So she would go to India, Dubai. She traveled quite widely sourcing textiles, and I was always fascinated with textiles. I come from a line of women that always had some kind of made their living with selling textiles or doing
Hmm.
anything thing that had to do with textiles. My grandmother as well.
Hmm.
So I was always surrounded by fabrics, and I had a life change. My well, a transition or a change. I was after 14 years as a web and graphic designer. We had caused to move out to British Columbia. We had lived in Winnipeg for so many years, and I quickly realized that it was time to do that which I always wanted to do, and also being a storyteller. I've had friends who've had so many experiences in their lives, and I didn't think it was enough to create fabrics that were beautiful and vibrant. I wanted an emotional connection to whatever you'd wear, something that told a story of an aunt, a sister,
Mm.
a friend that all women could connect to. So, and also tell my story as well. We moved out to a suburb of Vancouver, and turned out it's a very what's the word? I was pretty much probably the only black woman at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So I would come home like, oh, my kids were the only black kids in school. It
Mm-hmm.
was just a little bit overwhelming because Winnipeg was very mixed.
Okay.
It had a mix of cultures. I would come home and start drawing faces of women that looked like me, and I'll say to myself, oh, these are all my sisters. I'm drawing my sisters,
Hmm.
and that was actually one of my first collections. So I did a gouache painting of a series of women, and I named them all my aunties,
I want that.
and that
I
was
want that
how.
painting. I haven't even seen it, and I want it. I want that one.
Yeah, pretty much that was how the whole entrepreneurial venture started. So all
Okay.
my aunties was really the start of everything. And I said, oh wow, I just drew all my aunties, and
Wow.
all my my mom comes from a family of 10 children,
Wow.
5 girls and
Wow.
five boys.
Get out.
So I grew up with all this people with different characters and different way of doing things. So I have this auntie that is a prayer warrior, one that's a fashionista,
Yeah.
one that is has no filter. She sees it as she sees it,
Sure.
and all those characters I put in the my fabric,
Wow.
and it's all just create that hook. Anyone that wears it would definitely, I'm sure, would have one aunt that has characteristic like that.
Sure.
So that was how Stela Textile Design Studio started. And I'm telling more stories of women. I have one titled Victoria.
Okay.
Victoria is the life of a fabric design title called Victoria. Victoria is a woman who is in her midlife,
Mm.
starting scene two of her life. So she's not, it's like everybody else who is starting anything new. We're not sure. It's just it's a dream we're trying to fulfill.
Right.
So pretty much that's it. Victoria, she's wearing her boo-boo, she has her glasses on. She's gonna fake it until she makes it. No one knows that underneath that dress her knees are trembling,
Right.
but she's doing it anyway. So those are the stories I try to tell with my fabrics. I also have one called Go Girl. I dedicated that to my friend. She's a single mother of 5 girls.
Oh my goodness.
So I try to tell stories, women's stories. She's raising all those 5 girls all by her own, by herself, with no support from her ex.
Mm-hmm.
And she's doing that with strength, with dignity, without excuses or compromises. And that's the story I want to tell of women, because that's what thousands of go through every day.
Sure. Wow, that's awesome. I love the storytelling component. I love that how personal it is to you, and that it really was. You were compelled to do it because it was sort of a manifestation of what you weren't seeing in your day to day. That is so important,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
it's so similar and in line with what I'm doing with this platform, right? The Black women are operating businesses around the world, and yet there was no platform that would bring us all together and saying, I can pull from what you've done, I can learn from what you've done, and I can be encouraged by listening to how you overcame challenges and how my sister in, whatever part of the world you may be in to overcome challenges. So I love that part of it. And it's so personal to you that I think that makes it special. So congratulations on that. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
So you're just getting off the ground with it, right? You're just kind of getting started with Stella. What impact do you hope? I know you're telling these stories, but what impact do you hope it will make on fashion, which is a very fickle industry? And who do you consider to be your target market? Like who's going to walk into a fabric store, or what's the distribution process like for you? And who is your target consumer?
My target consumer is already that lady who loves loud, vibrant African prints.
Okay.
So I'm pretty much giving her an option because I realize that while African prints are numerous and out there, and it's so loved by everyone else, everyone, it we don't have that option of we don't have variations with fabrics, so it doesn't come in satin or chiffon and all that. So what I'm trying to do is giving women that variation, the African fashion lover that variation. For now, I'm rolling out. My fabrics will be available only in satin, but like I said,
Oh, okay.
if you're ordering more, like more than 50 yards, then you would have the option of ordering it in chiffon, satin, scuba knit, spandex, whatever. So it's um, that's the direction I want to go with.
Yeah.
So and yeah, and it's also that emotional connection. To what you're wearing. That's what I'm trying to create. Yeah, so my target consumer is lover of African fashion or
Hmm.
fashion for that matter. Um, Also designers as well, designers as well, and
Have you partnered with any designers yet, or is that your intention to do that?
I'm partnering with a designer now.
Okay.
She'll be using my collection for her African Fashion Week.
Cool.
Yeah, in London, the London African Fashion Week. I don't
Nice.
say her name now. She's probably mad with me because it's a surprise. So
Okay.
she's using almost all of my collections for her runway collection for the African Fashion Week. So
Oh my God. Are you going? You have to be there.
I have to be there. Both of us are pretty ecstatic. She's always WhatsApping me and showing me, oh, Ify, look, this is what I've done. I'm both scream like, yay! It's
Yes,
so
yes.
she's it's yes. So I also work with I'm working with a few designers here and there.
Yeah.
Design and you get surprising requests from designers.
Hmm.
Might be doing swimwear collection for a designer in the US. And I also did
Swimwear would be perfect for your
swimwear,
line. It's
yes.
so bright and fun. I think that'll look lovely as swimwear.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
there's just I've also finished a loungewear collection for designer, sleepwear and loungewear collection for a
Nice.
designer. Pretty much the same theme as my design. So has pictures of women, African women dressed in Victorian, cameo brooches, tie
Wow.
style designs. Just so there are things they have done and also things in the pipeline as well,
Yeah,
which I'm pretty
exciting.
excited about.
It's very exciting. That's very exciting. So, where would people be able to purchase the fabric on your website, or what's your distribution?
Um, for now, I'm starting off on my website. So
Okay.
the website should be ready.
Mhm.
I'm working to get it ready by the end of May or first week in June.
Mhm.
It will be an online store. You can just purchase fabric by the yard.
Okay.
And it's open to everyone, businesses, individuals, and yeah, you pretty much go in and purchase your fabric by the yard.
That's perfect. Okay, great. So, you've done a lot entrepreneurially. So, what advice do you have for maybe new entrepreneurs who are just getting started on their path? And, if you had to do a few things over again, what would you do differently?
my advice is know your market.
Mm.
Know who you have to have a mental picture of who your ideal client is.
Okay.
And once you have that mental picture, then you have to know where to find her. And that's one. Another thing is I had mentioned this about this before, is presumption. Never presume anything. Never think that, oh yeah, this is the way it's gonna go.
Right.
It's never that way. You have to be flexible and open to any changes that you might encounter. Another, when we started, we spent a lot of money. You have to, when you're marketing, you have to do your research about the type of marketing tools you're going to use. We spent, I don't know if I should mention what type of marketing tools we used, but we spent a lot of money on just using different marketing tools that weren't very effective. And ultimately, we just found out that good old fashioned referral, nothing beats it.
Yeah.
Nothing beats it. Most of my clients, because you get married, well, most people get married once or twice or whatever, but the wedding business you don't have a lot of return customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most of my, at least for the first couple years, so most of my brides would order invitations for their friends, their sisters. Moms would have 3 or 4 girls that are getting married, and I have most of my customers are moms that are ordering for their daughters, and so I have this return customers. That's the strength of your business: customer service and referral, pretty much.
Okay, great. So, what would you say, like in your professional career or via your entrepreneurial ventures, what would you say you've been most proud of thus far, and why?
Staying focused.
Oh, okay.
It's you have to be constantly motivated. It's especially when you're self-employed. You have to get up in the morning and know that no one is going to motivate you but yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the tricks I've learned, or one of the things I've done, is waking up in the morning. Just, it's a business. My office is within my living space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to get up in the morning, have my bath, put on my makeup sometimes, and just, I'm going to my office, I'm going to work. So
You put your makeup on at home?
sometimes I do.
Oh,
I
really?
put up my
Okay.
makeup, just, like I'm going to work, and just sit down and do my work. And there might be stuff on the floor or whatever that needs to be fixed. I just jump over it and go ahead with my business. I'm at work. I'm not here to do household work until it's time to do household work.
Right.
And um, also customer service.
Okay.
I pride myself with delivering the best customer service as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And that has helped me a lot, because I've had lots of customer referrals and customers that have become friends along the way as well.
Yeah. Just a quick question. Do you do other invitations that are not wedding related, or do you stay to that niche? That huge niche, really?
Um, it's a huge niche. Most
Yeah.
of my invitations are all kind of wedding themes, but I've
Okay.
had customers that come back and say, you know what, I'm having this. My mom is having a 50th.
Right.
Parents are having a 50th anniversary. It's because really, you can use it for anything.
Sure.
So I've done invitations for events that are not necessarily weddings,
Okay.
and I've had return customers that come back and say, oh yeah, we're having a baby. Can you convert this to a baby shower
Okay.
invitation? Yeah, and that's been done as well. So pretty much on, like, back to what I was saying, that the market leads you or teaches you.
Mm.
Now it's something we're considering, just having a line for baby showers
Okay.
and invitations for baby showers and stuff.
Okay. Awesome. Well, you have to let us know when you do that. Okay.
Of course.
So I think Ify, sacrifice is one of those things I feel like doesn't get enough attention when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? Everyone, I think people tend to, and really it's because a lot of times of social media. I think entrepreneurship is sort of glamorized and made like, you're going to have the hottest car and the best shoes and the designer bags, but sacrifice is really what drives a lot of what you do so that you can reinvest. So, what type of sacrifices have you had to make in order to really bring your businesses to fruition, whether that be time, money? What are some of those things that you've had to sort of put on pause?
For me, the greatest sacrifice has been time.
Mm.
It's entrepreneurship is not it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
You really, really have to have that passion. It's passion. Honestly, it's passion that drives this. If you don't have passion for what you're doing, then you can't do it.
Yeah.
You just have to find that one thing you really have passion for in order to be successful in this business. Sacrifice, like it's that most sacrifice I've made is it's time not spent with my children, my husband. I can tell you how many times I've my husband has come home to burnt food because I was just going off doing something, and the smoke alarm went off.
Right.
And it's missed appointments. My daughter has a dental appointment. Oh, I totally forgot.
Right.
My dog is hungry. I forgot to feed him breakfast. My kids are old enough to go help themselves with breakfast, but my dog can't say anything.
Right.
So it's these are the things that you have to you especially at the initial stages when you're trying to set up your business.
Mm-hmm.
So things you have to sacrifice to get it up to the stage that you want to then start getting other people to do the things that you would normally do yourself.
Sure. Okay. Cool. So what name three entrepreneurs that have inspired you? For me personally, I have to look to other people who have led the way, and this platform, Ingredient Global, has really enabled me to speak to amazing women like yourself who, I can learn from every day and gain knowledge and gain expertise from. So tell me three entrepreneurs that have inspired you, and how have they influenced you personally or professionally?
Well, the very first one would be my mother.
Yeah.
I named the business after her. My textile design studio. Her name is Stella. I just named her. I named the studio after her. She, ever since I can remember, my mother always had one way or the other of making money. She was mostly a housewife until she became an international businesswoman. But even at the time she was a housewife, she always did something. So I grew up knowing that as a woman, even if you were a housewife, you could always make space or move things around in such a way that there was residual income coming in from somewhere. So that was always ingrained in me, that you would have to always have something off on this. Even if you had a regular 9-to-5 job, you always have something on the side to do, like a side hustle. And that's what I'm trying to pass on to my children.
Sure.
My kids are of the age where they're my son does a lot of online bartering and exchange, and I encourage that. He goes to AliExpress. I've offered him just to start off capital for a small just business. Buy something from AliExpress and sell it to your friends. That side hustle, it's always so important. It just always a backup.
Yeah. Okay. Two other people that you can think of, or would you say your mother's the primary inspiration for you?
Oh yeah, my uncle. One of my uncles. His name was. He's passed away now. His name was Eugene Mojo. He probably just finished. I think his education was up to grade 7 or 8. But this man was able to establish a thriving concrete business. He dealt with concrete, and eventually he became an oil entrepreneur.
Okay.
Became millionaire
Wow.
based on, yeah, and it just shows that all you need is passion and just good old common sense. You don't need university degrees, MBAs, or anything to make a business succeed. Even up to his 80s, he had that vision to purchase. He was still thriving. So he's when I look back, he was such an example to me of how to grow your business and not have any barriers. You shouldn't let your shortcomings or anything stop you from growing a business. And of course, the third entrepreneur that would influence me is not so much one person or the other. It's just I've always been attracted to handmade things, handcrafted things.
Okay.
So I've always had that pull for anything someone else has touched, anything someone made by hand. So it's always that's also been my influence. Anything someone's hands has touched or has passed through always has that allure or pull for me, and that has always been my influence. You just put a little bit of yourself or your passion into something.
Sure.
That's why.
Why is
And
that? You're saying because of it, it's just the passion behind it, or tell me
it just,
why.
I think, is when I hold something. My daughter bought me this necklace from Me to We. I think it's called Me to We. It's done by African women in Kenya. And I held it and I just said to myself, someone's hands has touched this.
Yeah.
And there's just something very I don't know what the word is.
I understand.
That's that human connection
Sure.
that you feel when you hold, for me, a handcrafted item.
Right.
That's why I surround my home is full of baskets and pottery and woven cloth and stuff made by other people, just to feel that energy. So sometimes, honestly, when I am lacking inspiration, all I need to do is just look at a basket of pottery or something, just something someone else has made, and just you feel the energy.
Wow.
Pretty much.
That's awesome, Ify. I love that. That's great. So okay. Now it's time. We've gotten to, some of these amazing stories and these entrepreneurs and this great advice that you've given our audience. Now it's time to get a little bit silly, okay?
Okay.
Time for our rapid fire round of questioning. And it's, pressure, but not really. Because you only have
Okay.
30 seconds on my imaginary clock, okay? Okay, here's three things: kitchen, desk, or car. You can only keep one of these things clean for 1 year. Which one do you choose?
Kitchen.
The kitchen. I agree. What is or where is the furthest place you've traveled?
Um, a little country called Vamperberg in Austria.
Oh, in Austria. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. And name your favorite book.
Place.
I'm sorry?
Place. Not country, place.
Place. Sure, that's no worries, no worries. Name your favorite book ever.
I finished Chimamanda Adichie's gosh, I have it here. Where is it now? Uh Americana. I couldn't put the book down. I loved it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
That's author of Half of Yellow Sun. I read that as well. But there was just something about Americana that really hooked me. I think she was just telling the story of my life because we're about the same age-ish. So
Okay.
most of the scenes and stuff I was reading, I was like, oh, this is me in university. I could identify with so many her characters in the book.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And yeah, the songs that she would describe was playing, the dresses they were wearing, even the friends of the characters. I could tell that some of my friends had similarities with them. So
Yeah.
I totally identified with this book. And I was even thinking I had actually asked permission to use little bits of paragraphs in her book to make a print dress.
Oh.
But because I loved it so much, but
Wow.
I was just back and forth with the publishers, and I just abandoned it. I think it's something I have to revisit, but that's definitely hands down my favorite book.
Oh, that's neat. Okay. So, what would you say, Ify, what's your best attribute? What would you say is your best attribute? I mentioned mine was sort of resourcefulness. What would you say yours was?
My best attribute would be I push through. I Once I have a vision, and I honestly believe I'm a common sense kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And if I know that it's possible, it's viable, I'll go for it without even looking back. And one thing that I've learned is that honestly, go with your gut feeling. The worst thing you can ever do is when that thought strikes you, when you have that strike of inspiration, it's just like lightning. Just hold it back for a little bit and don't let it, once it strikes you, let it mature, let it grow strength in in your silence.
Yeah.
Don't dissipate the power by asking people. Don't. So, what do you think about this? That's a killer. That's a vision
Women are
killer.
so guilty of that too, right? We do
Never
that so much.
Yeah, don't just let it grow in your silence.
Yeah.
Let it grow.
Yeah.
And once you have that initial idea and you just let it simmer and grow, you'll be surprised at how that idea would change and morph into something entirely even different from what you had thought about initially.
Yeah.
But once you just dissipate it by asking, there's nothing wrong at a certain point in asking opinions.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. But once you have that initial idea, just let it simmer for a little while and be confident in yourself, because I think it's a lack of confidence when you try, because it's your vision, it's nobody else's vision.
Right.
So you just own it and just let it gather strength as it simmers. And don't dissipate the strength of your vision by asking different people about what they think about it. It's yours, nobody else's.
Oh, I love that. Don't dissipate the strength of your vision. That's awesome. I love that, Ify. Thank you for your passion. Thank you. Love that. Okay, here we go. Say this phrase 3 times fast. Let me tell you something. These rapid fire questions, these have been the least silly that I've given to anybody else. So, okay, I gotta go all the way silly on this one. You ready?
Sure, yes, of course.
Okay, say this 3 times fast. 11 benevolent, wait, I can't even say it. Okay. 11 benevolent elephants. 11 benevolent elephants. Go.
11 benevolent elephant. 11 benevolent elephant. 11 benevolent. Oh, I can't do that.
Pretty good. Close enough. Close enough. Thank you for humoring me. I appreciate that so very much. So, how can people follow Stela Textile Design Studio or BB Invitations? Let us know how we can stay in touch. What are your social media handles? All that good stuff.
We're online. Social BB Invitations is online, bbinvitations.com. We're also on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram is much more active. Okay. And also Stela Textile Design Studio is on. It's going to be online in by the end of May, early June. Okay. And we're also on Instagram and Twitter as well, Facebook and so we're on most social media, and I'm thinking just for the future, just collaborating with more designers.
Okay.
On the runway.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No worries at all. So, okay, Ify, I wanted to extend my deepest gratitude to you. Thank you so much for spending a bit of your valuable time with me and the Gradient Global Collective podcast listeners. You truly exemplify the innate brilliance and moxie of Black women entrepreneurs globally, and I am honored to have gotten to know you just a little bit. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for this privilege. I am very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gradient Global Collective podcast. Follow us and talk to us on Instagram @Gradient Global.